Again, not for nothing, but in a few minutes from now, you'll be part of the force that opened fire on a Zaft ship. You're like calling for them to back off, but you just attacked a Zaft ship. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Destiny. Not the episode we were about to watch, but the episode we are watching. That's an internal joke. I don't know why I even make those. First off, though, we have a few comments. First is up from Fenrir756 from the Patreon from the episode Past. My comments for this episode. I find it hilarious I'm typing this comment after just watching on YouTube Theta and Justin's reaction to Gundam Seed episode 35, where this exact point was addressed by Kisaka. Zaft still lost around 80% of its total fighting strength at Alaska, even though Kira tried to warn as many people as possible about the Cyclops system, so his warning did not actually have much effect.
Okay.
I agree with Data.
Go ahead.
So there's always a 5-second pause between when you say something and when I'm guaranteed you don't have any thoughts, and I never get it right.
Okay. So I was going to say how I hope the commentator talks about how that affects us now is Saf is under strength, right? And that's why they're being more careful this time. See what happens.
I don't know, it's been a year.
No, I mean, it might take a while to train and equip new forces if you lost 80% of your forces, right?
It's consideration. I agree with Data's point about Azumi's sacrifice/suicide in Season 1 has been retroactively made very stupid given the consequences it has had for Orb, and it is one of my main issues with Destiny, as they have effectively character assassinated him and made what was supposed to have been a meaningful sacrifice in defense of beliefs and principles very stupid, since it left Kigali and the Orb government vulnerable to what the Sirens are doing.
Yes. I agree.
I had forgotten that this episode existed since it's been so long since I've seen Destiny, but I think this episode was really effective at showing the issues Shin is going through and his current frame of mind, and I think it supports most of my analysis of his character from one of my prior comments in the last 2 episodes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Fun fact, the voice actor for the orange-haired character we saw in episode 19 has the same voice actor as Miguel Amon from Gundam Seed Season 1.
Oh, you gotta keep that budget tight, I guess.
All right. Such informative commentary. All right, well, next up, next comment, also from Fenrir756 from the Patreon, from the episode Wandering Eyes. Merry Christmas, Lessons in Theta. Unsure if my notes from episode 20 were posted too late or not, but if they aren't part of episode 22, you may want to consider addressing them next week, as my comments are going to be lighter than usual. Also, my notes/comments aren't always meant to be combative, but are also sometimes meant to address issues that both of you may speculate on, but are unsure about, or are just meant to point out details I find interesting.
Thank you, Fenrir.
I'm always combative. If you think I have other negative personality traits, leave them in the comments below.
On top of that, yes, please, list them out, yeah.
My notes for this episode. When Athrun told Mir that Lacus wouldn't act like that, it was also referring to the fact that Lacus would not dress like that and sleep in the same bed as Athrun even when they were engaged.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, that pretty much... I have a note about that, so yes, I'll talk more about that.
I mean, there's also the element that Lacus is not Mir.
True.
Stella probably doesn't remember Shin from their brief encounter on the plants, although Athrun seemed to briefly recognize them when he visited the plants in episode 1.
Yeah, there's a reason for that, a very specific reason for that, which I'll talk about later.
I know I have 2 notes about it, and 1 note. Sorry, I've done the thing where I've taken my notes, what you do, episode by episode, but not on purpose. I just wrote a whole thought process out about one thing, and then remembered that it gets addressed later, and just didn't correct the first note about it.
I did that
Also,
as well.
although I don't know about the second part of this comment, although Atherin seemed to briefly recognize them when he visited the plants in episode 1.
No, I don't think he did. Because he's like, oh, there's a girl dancing, and then she falls into the water. It's like, oh no, he fell in the water.
No, no,
So
no,
I don't
no.
think that
You're talking about the 2 episodes ago.
Chin.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the fact. All right, listen to me again.
We talk about that.
No, listen to the whole thing. Atherin seemed to briefly recognize them when he visited the plants in episode 1.
Yeah. But from where?
That's what I'm talking about. In episode
Yeah.
1, he recognized them, implying that he's seen them before the start of the season, but after the end of last season. Unless there's supposed to be somebody that I don't remember. And I've got all the faces. Sorry, I'm pointing at my board because it isn't up on the screen yet, but I'm pointing at it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're like clones of the original 3 people.
I'm not really going for clones anymore.
Even though the show has used clones already.
Yeah.
Interesting detail you may have missed, but when Atherin was on the Minerva while Shin and Luna Maria were on leave, he appeared to be using the computer to try and map out the area where the Archangel could have gone since leaving Orb. Specifically, his computer screen had a circle that looked like it centered on Orb, showing the possible radius where it could have traveled.
I did notice that, but I thought it was tracking Orb forces as opposed to trying to track the Archangel, but I probably got that wrong.
Well, I mean, it's meaningless to me. It's just a giant circle on a map. Even knowing what it is or what it's supposed to be, Atherin trying to say, oh, it could be anywhere in this radius. That's like when they say, oh, the aircraft went down around here. Here's a circle radius. It's like 700 miles wide. They could be anywhere in here. If we don't find them in 2 days, they're probably dead. It's like, this is a pretty big map. You've circled quite a bit of the country and the ocean, Atherin.
Mm-hmm. Also, we also know that they end up in Scandinavia. So that map also was wrong because it should have been like the entire world. They go across Asia and Europe.
Well, they're in a spaceship. You should have a 3D map with a sphere with a center point, not a radius on a flat surface. Fun fact, the voice actor for Murray Ramius in the original English dub for Gundam Seed is the same English voice actor as Relina Peacecraft in Gundam Wing and Sumeragi Lee Noriega from Gundam 00.
She has experience with Gundam, especially with playing Relina. Although, yeah, they don't sound anything like.
Well, Sumeragi is, this is the English voice actor.
Yeah, I know, because I remember watching Wing in English, so, yeah.
Yeah, but you have never commented on listening to this in English.
No, I haven't. I briefly, but not. Again, I get kind of weirded out because I'm used to the Japanese now.
All right, well, next comment. Also from Fenrir756 from the Patreon, Sword of the Azure Skies. My notes for this episode. While Heine and Atherin are technically the same rank, Heine has been a member of Faith for longer, so he has seniority over Atherin.
True. Again, I have a note about that. But how long has Faith been around since? So he said he was from another team.
Atherin was a member of Faith during season 1, apparently. They get mentioned. It's either that or I don't know. He was a former member of Faith, is all we know about Atherin.
So did Hein continue to be a member of Faith, and that's why he has seniority, or he was inducted into Faith first? I mean, it could be the whole senpai kohai kind of thing. Works when you're kind of work situation. Whoever has seniority is superior. But again, I have a note about that and the whole fake thing. So yeah.
While the Freedom is currently the only nuclear-operated mobile suit, it is worth considering that there likely have been general improvements to mobile suit performance and technology since the end of the last war, so the Impulse and other mobile suits may have general... Sorry, sometimes when I'm reading the words, I feel like I'm getting like dyslexia sometimes. So I apologize if I just have an inability to read sometimes. My work towards why I'm so shit at reacting to anime when it's in dub. And by dub, I meant sub. I'm just fucking stupid today. That's my excuse. Anyway, let's see. Let's backtrack here. Since the end of the last war, so the Impulse and other mobile suits may have general technological enhancements that the Freedom doesn't have. Whether those improvements are enough to make a difference is a different matter.
Well, it wasn't simply a nuclear reactor. It also had a thing that negated the anti-nuclear tech that was being used on Earth.
Which doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. Literally, we're watching them do news reports all over the globe, which is implying that, okay, whatever the neutrino devices were, which were not acting like neutrinos do, by the way, whatever they were, was supposed to, I assume, be our Minovsky particle of this world. And their implication is, hey, we just blanketed the world with Minovsky particles. Take that, Earth, you know?
Yeah.
And we're literally watching them do news reports. Like, you wouldn't have the scene about, this is the global devastation of the fall of Genus 7 if the things were still there. So...
Or they haven't been reactivated by
I would have to assume as part of the peace negotiations that shutting those things down, or not even shutting them down, but like deactivating them completely. Because otherwise you'd be like, these are peace negotiations, we're going to turn them off, but we always have the option of turning them back on. You know, that doesn't stand at the negotiation table, I don't think.
Yeah.
Remember that in Season 1 of Gundam Seed, a lot of Gundam pilots did die, so I don't think it's fair to say that having a Gundam protects you from dying.
No. Did we say that?
I don't remember.
Did you say
I don't remember saying that.
I think we're talking about Luna Maria and whether Luna Maria was going to die or not. Yeah, I think that's the whole discussion there.
Well, technically, Luna Maria is a Zaku pilot.
True. Yeah, but I think he's saying that even if you're in a Gundam, that doesn't mean that. You know,
I don't know. The comment here is so ambiguous that I could think of any number of things we might have said that this would apply to. Like, they said, remember that in Season 1, a lot of pilots died. Did we say something about Season 1 that this refers to?
No.
I believe that the point the show was trying to make with why Yuna named the operation the way he did was to emphasize his lack of military experience, and that he was more concerned with things that didn't matter than actual military matters necessary for victory. Remember, Yuna had no part in Orb's fighting during the last war, unlike Kigali, and I think this lack of experience is emphasized when he orders all the mobile suits to launch, and Todaka and his XO react with shock and tell him that they can't do that, but he forces them to do it anyways.
I have a note about that, which goes back to our discussion of, he sounds like an excited nerd, and we're like, yeah, but kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're sitting on 0 points, getting 2 points is a big step up.
In my case, I think he even goes down negative points.
Well, I'm saying that doesn't exist. He's on the floor.
Well, he got himself a shovel, basically.
Again, I'm saying that doesn't exist. The metaphor that I'm saying, remember, look, I recently did an edit on our Legend of the Galactic Heroes thing, where we had a debate about the word extreme. And I'm not talking about I'm not redefining the term extreme. I want to say the definition of terms, part of that debate is what's going on here, which is to say, I'm saying that we both have to agree that the bottom is as far down as you can go. Now, you could argue, most people will start at 50, right? And I'm saying he's at 0. And that
Yeah.
would be below normal, but the floor is the floor, right? He can't
Let me put
dig
it
through
this
the
way.
earth and reach and fall into space on the other side. He can only get to the center of the earth.
Yeah, well, not for lack of trying. Anyway, moving on.
While I think we're supposed to emotionally connect with Tadaka, given his history with Shin, doing what he could to let the Minerva get away when the Earth Alliance fleet forced it into Orb waters, and not intervening when the Archangel was leaving with Kigali, I think the audience's emotional attachment is supposed to be with Orb as a whole, and to regret how they are being used selfishly by Gibral and Logos to fight in this war in a way that violates the founding principles of Orb, and how its current leaders, not including Kigali, don't seem to care about what might be lost if the nation continues down this path. I mean, immediate correction, Kigali's not a current leader either.
That's true. I agree with that in general, but again, I have notes, particularly about Yuna's behavior, that kind of dove into that, so I don't want to derail the discussion just yet.
Well, I mean, in matters of this to the previous discussion about the assassination of the character of, forgot his name all of a sudden, Kigali's dad. I mean, the application of that to this season already makes me unsympathetic to Orb. Sorry, there's a thought that I don't know if I should go into. I'll do it anyway. It's media. There is that movie. I don't remember if I've discussed this with you before.
No,
Look Who's Back.
it sounds familiar.
It's a German film about Hitler reappearing above where his bunker was.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
and the entire point of that video is the end, which is to say Hitler's diatribe about the fact that I was voted into office. I didn't just appear out of nowhere. People like me appear all the time. That sort of thing. That I don't feel like the Syrians come out of nowhere. Right? We've
That's
discussed
very true,
before
yeah.
that they were possibly a product of the Earth Alliance's, sorry, not invasion, occupation. Sorry, occupation of Orb. That they are the capitulators of those, and that's how they rose into the position that they're in. But they're also clearly being supported by the nation itself. We haven't seen anybody in opposition to them.
Yeah. Except maybe for the military leaders, and even then, there's like, well, Luke, we shouldn't do this, but we're gonna follow orders anyway. So,
well, yeah, because their obligation is to follow orders, unless I guess they go against what I don't know. But the point is that the non-Sirens at the table supported the Sirens.
Yeah.
They didn't support the only Alpha member at the table. So, anyway, fun fact, in the original English dub for Gundam Seed, the actor for Kira had someone kick him in the balls whenever he had to do a crying scene, so that he would actually be crying to make it more authentic.
That sounds like an urban legend. That can't be right.
Have you heard Japanese?
I know method acting.
Have you heard Japanese voice actor Kira cry? Because it sounds like that's what he had done to him.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. But
I mean, you've heard it, right?
Yeah.
It sounds so unnatural, but if you imagine someone kicked him in the balls a second ago, I believe it. That sounds about right.
Yeah. But still,
Well, I don't know. Again, English voice actor Kira, I have not heard crying, because I only listen to Seed Destiny now in that way. So
yeah.
Right.
Whether it's true or not, it sounds funny as hell, but still.
All right. Well, that's the comments. We of course also have the board. And as per my normal thing now, I've got the board change log, which is to say I added Lieutenant Baba to Orb. He's from previous episodes. I forgot to add him before. That I believe he shows up in the when Atherin appears at Orb. He's one of the people attacks, I believe. The problem is I took a screenshot of him for the to add to the board, and then I forgot to for like 2 weeks, I think. So that's my memory. Anyway, he's on the board now. I connected Baba to Atherin with a red line for the previous reason I said. Connected Heine to the Minerva crew with a green line. I changed the red line connecting Stella and Shin to white. And I connected Yuna to Neo with a green line.
That sounds about right. I mean, the people that died were just unnamed mooks that Kira was mowing down, so. From Org. It's like, I hate Org. It's like, oh, you used to love Org, but now you hate them because you feel betrayed by them.
That's not the conversation they had at all.
At the last episode,
he implies that he hates Orb, but Atherin has the whole speech about you're only feeling this way because you actually loved Orb.
Yeah, that's a conversation they had in the elevator.
Actually, I think they had it on the deck.
No, that was Hein and Atherin that they had the conversation.
My nose is going crazy.
Because Hein was like, because Hein basically like, oh, who you would like to fight? And Arthur's like, well, I don't want to fight anybody. And it's like, Hein's like, yes, I'm the same. But we're soldiers, so we got to fight. It's like, well, yeah, okay, got it. Sure, That's basically what the conversation between Hein and Arthur, which were on the deck, All
right, well, you have more notes than I do, so you should probably go first.
Do I have 11, but sure.
I have like 8-ish, so yeah.
Okay.
8 is oftentimes less than 11. So I find.
Often enough, yes. Chapter or phase 21, Wondering Eyes. And I start with Mir. Mir is clearly trying to manipulate Arthur. She probably knows about Kigali, and she certainly knows that Arthur and Lacus are no longer together. A pretty underhanded move by her, and I don't believe her playing innocent for a minute. At least Arthur had no patience for it.
That's only because you hate Mir.
I don't trust her. She hasn't done anything for me to trust. Yeah.
I love Mir. Mir's a great character.
Well, she might be. I don't know if she's a great character yet. She hasn't done anything that.
She's very unique amongst characters in this show.
In that she's a clone of someone else's character?
It's funny. I didn't think about that the moment I said that, but no, I mean, she is very, well, one, she is very unique in that how many other characters are that, even, right? Even if you're saying she's a clone of a different character, I guess technically that's Rao too, but Rao's dead.
Yeah.
But my point is that how many other people are characters pretending to be somebody else? This is a perfect, I keep saying perfect blue. This is a perfect blue scenario in Gundam. How often does that happen?
Not often enough, I guess. It would get tiresome very quickly.
I think the closest you could say is like Flay from season 1, who's like pretending to be someone she's not. But this is like that to a whole different level. Like imagine if Flay came out of her room dressed as Lacus one day, and like, what the fuck is going on? That's what's happening here. This is weird. This is weird and interesting, and I like that because it's so different. But also, Mir, I love her attitude. She got a great attitude. Her songs are better than Lacus's because they're the same songs but different.
I don't think she has a great attitude, though.
She does.
I think she has an awful. She's a lying snake. I think she doesn't have a great attitude. She has the opposite of a great attitude. She pretends to be bubbly and sparkly, but
here's
I don't
the
buy
thing.
it.
You're saying she's pretending. We've never seen evidence to the contrary that that's not her actual person.
I get the feeling that
you can claim that she has a facade all you want, but until that facade breaks, like the thing of game show hosts, right? Where they always seem happy, and then the thing is that you're always like, oh, when the cameras go off, they turn into like chain smoking assholes or whatever. Until you see that, the facade is the reality.
We'll see what happens.
It's interesting that Mir is so into the role of Lacus that she wants to do all the things that she thinks Lacus would, even the things that no one else would see her do. Her sentiment of these are things engaged people who haven't seen each other in a while do, speaks to her need to do everything that she thinks Lacus would do in her position. The thing is, her view of Lacus is clearly of the idol from before the Jaina 7 Memorial Cruise, without any of the nuance or political motivation. I do think Mir is more innocent than Rumi in Perfect Blue. However, this is more like a dream for her that has gotten more complex and confusing as she has to learn what her idol is really like behind the scenes.
Except for the, blatant violations of Arthur's privacy.
I don't know what you mean by that.
She just walked into his own bed and slept with him without even asking. It's like, oh yeah, sure, this is what we do.
Okay, here's the thing: is that I'm listing off her innocence and her trying to be the person that Lacus is without understanding who Lacus really is, and all you're doing is like backslapping her. Like, yeah, except for sleeping in her bed. I said she's innocent. She didn't do anything in the bed with him. She thought, oh, this is what these people should do. I'm going to do it.
She does say, oh, but, you were already asleep. Like, I was hoping you were going to be awake so we could do more of the things that, people do. And he's
mean, that might be heavily implied, but there was also that they were supposed to spend the night together. Not like that. I don't know. Maybe like that. But the idea was that he was supposed to be awake so that they could do anything. Not just
he
sleep
wasn't
in the
into
bed.
it at all. He was like, what are you doing in my room? And then when Luna Marie is knocking at the door, she doesn't wait for him to no, she just goes in. It's like, I'm gonna open the door. It's like, hey, bitch, what the hell?
Yeah, because she thinks that they're supposed to be a married couple. So this is just somebody barging in on them. Again, like I said, she's innocently trying to assume the role of Lacus without understanding what the relationship is here. So if you thought you were supposed to be married to somebody and then some strange woman, or I guess in this case a man, I don't know, I'm not declaring your preferences here, but if some other person showed up and you thought that that was going on between them and thought that you were supposed to be having this relationship with the person, you might butt in as well.
She knows that they're broken up. They know they're not together anymore. Everybody knows it.
You keep saying this, but I have literally quoted her. These are things engaged people who haven't seen each other in a while do. She is literally saying to you right now, I think we're engaged. You keep saying that she knows that they're not. No, she has literally used the words that she thinks.
Even if she were, he would be engaged to the actual Lacus. He is not Lacus. So it's like, oh, we're engaged. No, I'm going to be engaged to someone else, not you. So even that is like, oh, it's like...
That's why I keep calling it Perfect Blue, because it's the assumption of identity.
Oh, that's kind of messed up still. Whether she's a victim of it or active participant might be debatable. I think she's an active participant, not a victim of it. I think that's the difference between the two of you. You think like she was given this opportunity and just jumped at it because, Lacus is her idol. I think that might have been part of it, but I think she willingly went to it. In fact, in the dinner, she says, oh, I'm Mir. I'm not Lacus. Everybody says that I look like her, but I'm really not, right? She knows she's not Lacus. So stepping in and going
you're creatively cutting out part of that conversation where she says she really wants to be Lacus, though.
Yeah, but it okay.
And she was describing her past, not her present.
She's still not Lacus, though.
I mean, to the majority of the world, she is.
Except for her, she and Durandal and Arthur. Arthur knows who she is. It's like, no. Like, it's like, that's
okay. So you've counted what, 3 out of 8 billion people? I think the math is still on Mir's side.
If a lot of people believe something that is not true, it doesn't make it true just because he believes it.
Especially when it does make it true unless it's science, right? Unless it's science or math or, like if I say I think gravity doesn't exist, I don't start floating out of my chair, right? But if it's a political belief, it's a philosophical belief, if it's a belief of personage, then yes, it remains true. If 8 billion people say that's Lacus, the real Lacus is fucking nobody. We can shun her out of existence if 8 billion people say that Mir
those
is
8
Lacus.
billion those 8 billion people were not in that room between the two of them before the door opens. Meaning that the only two people that should be important, whether she is Lacus or not, were in that room, Arthur and Mir. Mir knows she's not Lacus, and Arthur knows that she's not Lacus. To them, and especially to him, it's like, bitch, what the fuck?
Sure, you're talking on a person-to-person level. I'm talking as a state of reality, right? Until everybody agrees that Mir is not Lacus, Mir is Lacus.
Yeah, to outside
that is
door,
the fight between Mir and Lacus.
But not between Arthur and Mir. Okay, that was like, no, you're not.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that, though, is Atherin is currently also keeping the lie. He doesn't say, that's not Lacus. When Luna Maria comes out, he tries to explain himself. Not the Mir situation. So even Atherin is defending.
Idiot, by the way.
Say what?
He should have detonated that lie as soon as he got into it. It's like, I don't want any part of this shit.
Except that the Mir Lacus scenario is happening on Zaft's behalf. So to kill that lie would be to be acting against the people you are currently operating with. It makes no sense for him to try and kill this whole thing.
Well, it makes sense in that he's supposed to be in love with someone else.
Oh yeah, by the way, Lacus, who is backed by Durandal, we should probably kill our whole PR effort right now. Right in the midst of the entire, hey, people are siding with us over the Earth Alliance all of a sudden. We should probably tell them all we're liars right to the world's face. Good time to do it. Because I feel incensed that a woman slept in a bed with me. Horrible timing.
Or he could have said, okay, you want to do this? Don't do it with me. And he just walks away.
Well, she literally didn't do it with him.
I mean, participate in the lie. He's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm doing my own thing. I'm too busy with,
unfortunately, as opposed to what you seem to think, a lot of people do think Atherin and Lacus are engaged still. Apparently, that's not public news. So in which case, either they're going to have a public falling out, a fake play falling out to make reality real, or they just keep it going. And it doesn't seem like Atherin has an active romance life. Yeah. No, I'm saying he doesn't have an active romance life. Nobody sees him doing anything romantically with anybody. Like, it might be known within his inner circle that he's with Kigali, but Kigali's fucked off and missing. So... Also, when he was with Kigali, he was Alex Dino, not Atherin.
You know what is? I think it's just Atherin doesn't have the balls to do what needs to be done.
If he had balls, he'd be with Mir.
No, he would be Kigali.
Yeah, fuck Kigali. She got kidnapped and wasn't doing anything. I don't know. I don't have anything against Kigali, so this doesn't go anywhere. I just really like Mir.
Well, I don't trust her. Okay, my next thought. What is Durandal play assigning yet another faith member to the Minerva? Hein to the Minerva. Sure, the ship could always use more experienced pilots, but has no need for another faith member to model a chain of command even further. We talked about earlier about seniority and the fact that he was in another team, which apparently was doing other things. Like, you already have the captain who's a faith member. You already have Arthur who's a faith member. And now you introduce this third. And in fact, they have this whole discussion where it's like, oh, but he's your senior. But it's like, it's like, oh, and I have a note about that too.
I'll jump down my list because I think I have a note that goes with this one. I'll just address them both together. My first thought about Hein is that he's here to break Atherin down psychologically. He's taking away what authority and control Atherin has over the team he's assigned to, but not in any direct way. But how he talks to people and refers to him. Changing how people think is just a step towards control. It feels like if Durandal is up to no good, like you say he is, then the idea could be to make Atherin just another soldier. That way, his name and memory still invoke in the people whatever you build it up to invoke, but the man himself becomes replaceable. Like Mir with Lacus. The person themselves melds into the crowd, while the figurehead you create can be anything.
which is did I write that? Yeah.
No, I wrote that.
No, but I wrote another, but in episode 22. Yeah. So I'm gonna just jump to episode 22 real quick. Arthur says that Highness is superior, but we know that faith members only answer to the Defense Council. Does that mean that Arthur no longer has the freedom of action Durandal promised him? Also, following that note, Hines says things are informal, but by changing the relationship between Arthur and the rest of the crew, he has set himself as the leader among them. In other words, he essentially set like you just said, the social rules. He changed the social rules with him determining what is and isn't acceptable, right? Oh, yeah, everything is, we don't have to be so formal, but I'm the one saying that things are not formal. You, Arthur, said that things had to be formal. You were around slapping Chin to make sure that he followed orders, but now I'm coming in and saying, well, around me, things don't have to be so formal, right? And he's sort of establishing that sort of schoolyard kind of measurement who's top dog by, being like, oh, I'm so easygoing. Nothing has to be done.
Well, I mean, no, Athrun immediately says that he outranks him, that he has to follow him anyway. So he's not establishing that he's top dog. That's already established by Athrun. I mean, my point is more so that he is breaking down the authority and command that Athrun has put out there, and has caused him to become like a, I don't know, just like a dog that's rolled over and exposed their belly. He's like, no, actually, I think I like this more. People aren't thinking about him the same way that they did before. In that way, he's making Athrun more subservient than he otherwise would be. And that's why I'm saying that you could be trying to make Athrun replaceable as a person, while his name still invokes whatever you want to invoke. That's why it's the Mir-Lacus relationship thing, is that if I can replace the most popular idol in the world, why can't I replace Athrun?
Yeah.
All I need to do is have Athrun out there so people know that he's out there, and then I can change the man to whatever I need him to be so that he'll become a subservient soldier, and then elsewhere I could have another Athrun doing whatever the fuck I want to do. Yeah, again, following through on the assuming that you're right about Durandal.
Well, the solar name still has meaning. We speculate there's a solar faction willing to commit genocide against the Earth.
I don't know. The oddity there is the fact that every time he shows up, they always say, of the Rowler Crest team? No one says, of Patrick Zola fame? They don't invoke the Zola name when he shows up. They bring up Rao, which has always thrown me.
Yeah. Your next point, then?
I wonder if there's any added meaning to Hines saluting Mir. Given they both seem to have more personal connections to Durandal, it could be more of just a polite greeting. I mean, Season 1 Lacus was all about discovering that this bubble-headed idol was more than she appeared to be. Mir could also be more than meets the eye. Secret faith member, perhaps?
Definitely. I mean, but also could be playing to the fact that, she is. I mean, in the Japanese, he uses calls her Lakusama, which implies someone of higher status, right? I even think she even used the term Hime, which might be princess, like Lacus Hime-sama, which is Princess Lacus. Miss. It's translated as Miss. As Miss.
I'm following on this the path that Lacus takes in Season 1 from idol to military commander. That if Mir is some sort of narrative mirror to Lacus, that she might also go the route of idol to military commander, but that her military commander status might actually just be already existent in the background.
Maybe, yeah, but either way, he clearly is playing to the idea of Lacus, the princess, because there's Lacus, the idol, and there's Lacus, the heir apparent to the Klein faction, right? Her father was, and she actually takes over and becomes a military leader, the Three Ships Alliance. So the fact that he's playing to that sort of Sama is like, she's not just someone, she's someone of a higher status than I am, and that's how I'm going to talk to her, right? So it could be that what you're saying. She could already, she could be secretly be a staff member who's been trained and whatever, or it could be, hey, this is an important person, both politically and socially, and I'm going to treat her that way because
I think it's funny that we had this whole discussion where you're pointing out that Mir is probably something insidious figure in the background, and more than we think that she is. And then I give you a whole conspiracy theory about.
No, I'm not disagreeing with it at all.
It feels like you are. It feels like you're defending her by giving it. Well, actually, if you read the Japanese, what he said here was so he could just be polite and like treating her like some sort of zaft royalty because she's famous. Is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, but it could be both. I mean, Mir. Okay, here's where the confusion comes. He might be respecting Lacus, the image, playing into that, whether he knows Mir is the real deal or not. He may or may not. We'll probably see. We're getting to the middle of the series, so we're going to have more revelations as things come about, right? Hopefully beyond. We're expecting a big one around episode 25, right? Middle of the series, right? But as well, he could know and then be like, oh, you're a faith member and you're my superior, so I have to salute you, and I'm going to use it depends. Who is he saluting? Is he saluting Lacus, the image, right? Or is he saluting Mir, the double agent?
I don't recall anybody saluting Lacus before Zala faction stuff. I mean, before Klein faction stuff.
So, yeah. Also, it could be a recognition that she was, again, Lacus was part of the 3-ship alliance. Well, there's possibilities. I'm not discounting what you're saying. It just...
I don't think you would salute Lacus as the member of the 3-ship alliance, considering that the 3-ship alliance killed a lot of zaft members.
Yeah. But also helped to stop the war, so... And the extermination.
I don't think we forget all the people you've killed just because you stopped a war.
Well, sure. And help stop the extermination of both humanity, naturals, and coordinators. So.
Well, no, she really only stopped the death of naturals. If we're talking about her actions against Zaft, she only stopped the Zaft super weapon from shooting Earth.
Anyway, my next point, which kind of ties into this as well. Luna Maria's attitude at the fact that she was willing to talk about what she saw in front of Chin means that the word of what happened will spread quickly. What she saw in the, or she thought she saw, in Atherin's room, will spread quickly through the ship, thus reinforcing Mir's image as the real Lacus. I wonder who really benefits from that.
Sorry, it's like a bad detective novel. Who stands to benefit? Except that it's not like we're not investigating some like corporate like dumping of pollution into like a river where people are getting sick. It's just like your high school animes that you love so much. Like if we were watching it and like the villainous girl who's trying to sabotage the good main character girl, and you're like, who stands to benefit from these rumors?
I think ultimately Durandal is anything that strengthens Mir's view as Lacus always benefits. Well,
literally nobody stands to benefit from this scenario. Durandal. Luna Maria is getting upset because everything she throws out is like literal high school shit, and none of the guys in the elevator are picking up on this. So they're just responding to her like, normal flat answers, and she's getting angry because they're not figuring out that she's on a high school level about this. So that's why when they go down to actual breakfast, and she's like, well, where's the commander at? And she goes, oh, he's back in his bedroom doing shit. Because no one's playing her game is the thing. So I don't think that anyone is benefiting. Least of all Luna Maria.
No, not her. No.
I said no one's buying into it because nobody understands that she's playing high school level shenanigans.
Well, Athrun realizes that because she goes like, "I don't." And
Athrun
you
doesn't
shouldn't be
realize it.
talking like
Athrun realizes that she's upset at him. That's all Athrun realizes.
that. Yeah.
Obviously, he doesn't really get it because he didn't say the right words.
Yeah. Anyway, you're next.
Well, my next one's not a thought. It's just reading out what was on a piece of paper. Hi and Weston Floss, ID 011659, date of birth 190952 CE, September 19th. Sex male, blood type A, color of eyes green, birthplace September. This is the second time this has happened, so I'm thinking maybe the plants are named after months. I don't know.
Yeah.
Date of enrollment 210268, February 21st. Present belonging, fast acting integrate tactical headquarters, Faith. Present whereabouts, Minerva. And the bit of work record I could read off of the screen. Of his essential decency and competence there had been little doubt, and the skill with which he had presided over the end of the Earth-Moon War has impressed in not merely the inner club that monitored foreign policy.
I tried reading that and I couldn't. I actually stopped to see it and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna even try.
Well, I think that's the benefit of I don't wear glasses and you do, is that my vision is already blurry, so blurry stuff is just can't get. I mean, it could get more blurry, but
Yeah.
I'm used to reading at this point. That's what it said. It's also the second time now I think I've read something that mentioned Earth and Moon War. Well, Earth and Moon are on the same side. The Moon is covered in Earth Alliance bases, so. Yeah. Also, there was the military academy on the Moon that both Athrun and Kira went to before the start of the Zaft war. So, assumedly, I don't know.
It could be a piece of like early writing of Destiny. It's like, oh yeah, it's going to be an Earth Moon War situation, and then like that got changed. And
no, I think the Earth Moon War stuff appeared in Seed as well.
Yeah,
on paper.
So, I mean, yeah. So they could be reusing that. Okay. My next point. It seems that the Randall strategy of helping those who want to get from that's a word I should put at it. From under the Federation's boot is bearing fruit. If the voices of those random civilians are to be believed, because there's a point where they're panning out, and you have staff of soldiers mixing with civilians. Like, oh, we think the coordinators are creepy, but it's better than those jackasses basically from the Federation who ill-behave soldiers from the Federation, and that gets translated like, yeah, it's better these guys. Yeah, we are not totally comfortable being ruled by coordinators, but they treat us better than the Earth Federation, who just tortures people and shoots them and uses slave labor. So fuck them. I
don't really have any commentary to that one.
No, but we talked about it before, because we talked about, for example, how different groups have said like.
I mean, I know what you're describing. You're describing the scene in the thing where they have like the civilian. The civilians are saying stuff as we're seeing like clips of like the Zaft soldiers and everything. I know what you're talking about. That happened. I just don't have anything to say about it.
Okay. I'm not trying to elicit a reaction. It's just going to tie into these 3 scenes that we've seen this happen. So this is the 4th time this happened. The first time it happened is when Alex, Dino, Arthur and Cagali are arriving into the plant, and people are talking. It's like, oh, you can't forget about we have to be prepared because the naturals are still hate us, blah blah blah. Then the second time it happens is after the fall of the colony, or the pieces of colony, and you have people protesting the destruction. It was like, oh, kill, they're basically saying blue cosmos shit, right? It's like, a blue earth for blah blah. Okay. And then you have the other one, which was again in the plants, and you have civilians like, oh, we got to go to war, and people are like, no, but we don't want another war, whatever. Like, well, the kids are playing, and then it's when Mir as Lacus goes out, like, hey, everybody, we want to have peace, whatever. She starts singing, and people are like, oh, okay. And this is like the 4th time where we had sort of that, that glimpse into what the average Joe believes is happening, right? So it's interesting.
I don't know. I would only say this is like this. If I was making a list, I'd only say this is the second. I know you're saying You're like quoting precedents essentially of what people think by different situations. But when it comes to like, I don't know, internal monologue or expressed belief, I would only go with the times that the camera has panned over civilian groups in the streets back when Jaina 7 fell, and like random people all over the world were saying the Blue Cosmos tagline, and then this shot, which is their internal monologue, or I guess what they're saying out in the streets, because those are the two situations which our main characters were not present, that only exist to show us what the public thinks.
I mean, the one on the plants, the main mirror doesn't appear until the very
I'm not
end.
counting the one of the
people.
plants because that's what the plants people think. I'm talking only about the Earth, what people on Earth think, naturals essentially. Because I used the plants one as an expression of, because I made a previous note about this, as an expression of what the difference is between the people on Earth and the people in the plants are. Because that was my expression. The people on Earth are mostly pro Blue Cosmos, because that's all we heard from there. But we heard people in the plants rallying against war again, but then being drowned out by the pro-war people. But so that sentiment existed, they showed it to us, and it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Nope, up to your next point.
So Shin saving Stella, he uses her trigger word twice in a row. I wonder if using it the second time is actually what calmed her down. Like, Shin is inadvertently using psychological warfare on her without ever knowing it. He sets her off with her code word, which freaks her out and causes her to use up a lot of her energy in an emotional burnout. Then he uses it again, making her docile and weakened by all her exertion that she just went through. Using soothing words, causing her to associate him with protection. I don't know how much personal agency Stella actually has, but if the answer is closer to none than some, then this could be his way of accidentally pushing his way into that inner circle of people that she recognizes on an instinctual level.
My next note is probably a follow-up to that. So I'll just say it. Whatever happened to Stella, possibly a near-death experience, or as Chin imagined, the survivor of a massacre, left her broken, making what the Federation did to her by erasing her memories, yet using her trauma to control her that much crueler. Now, that's the first half of that statement is when he's trying to save her and says what he says, don't you die, I'm not going to let you die, etc. And, she calms down. The second part, of course, is in the next episode when they're in the chambers getting reprogrammed, which literally says, yeah, it's better to erase her memories altogether, because she panics because they want to take the handkerchief away, right? But then when she wakes up, she's like, I don't know what this is, and she just leaves it there. So they erased the memory of what happened when she fell in the water.
I said this before, but I have two thoughts about Stella, and one of them is longer and further down my list. And normally I think I would add it on to what you're saying here, because it does address literally your whole cruelty angle about this. But I think I'm going to hold off on saying that one until later. I just want to make it aware that I agree with what you're saying without going into that one yet.
Okay. So I guess it's my next point or your next point?
Well, you read a point to agree with my point, I guess, so I think it's your point again.
Yeah. Well, so this is more of a reference to UC timeline. The meeting between the members of Phantom Pain and Arthur Chin reminds me of when Amuro crossed paths with Char and Lala, although this time only one side knew that the others were the enemies, at least in general terms.
So they both in cars, too.
They recognize the red uniforms. Oh, those are, and the other guys are like, oh, these are just civilians, right? Well, clearly the circumstances are different because that was in UC was supposed to be a neutral territory, so technically you could, and they knew that they were soldiers from the other side, right? They didn't know that they were respectively. Well, Amuro knew that who Char was the Red Comet, of course. Char didn't know that Amuro was the pilot of the Gundam. Here,
Actually, Amuro doesn't express that he knows he's the Red Comet. Lala later says maybe he was intimidated because you're the Red Comet.
Oh, but he's known about Char. I mean, he's like, Char,
He
the Red
didn't
Comet,
actually. That's one of the few scenes Amuro doesn't say, that's Char.
Yeah, but
So,
which I guess he kept his mouth shut, which is, I think, either he was shocked or was being smart about it.
yeah, but he's a character we often get the internal monologue of, so he didn't even think it.
Yeah. But he should have known. I mean, he's like, oh, that's Char. Unless there's like 2,200 Chars on the Xeon side, right? And in this case, they do cross paths, but it's not neutral territory because it's territory controlled by staff. And
I mean, you could argue it's contested territory.
I mean, yeah. And next episode it will be contested, but yeah. So far it's under the control of staff, so yeah. So your next note.
I know we disagreed about this, but at the end of Wandering Eyes, I still feel like Stella feels abandoned by Shin when she repeats that he said he'd protect her, then leaves her behind. We know why Shin is leaving, and he says she's fine because she's with her brothers, but neither of those things has anything to do with how Stella feels or perceives the situation. I also think it's much clearer in the English dub that the tone of her voice is one of sadness and or disappointment.
I mean, for someone who clearly suffers from extreme abandonment issues, I can't fault her for feeling that way. But I also was like, I also had a thought that is Shin had brought her into the base, then they would have had an infiltrator inside the base. And it's like, oh, you brought her right into the den, the wolf's den. And if they activated her inside, she probably killed half of the people.
She doesn't have to be activated. She's not a sleeper agent. She's a current agent.
Yeah, I know, but in the sense of like, oh, here's some orders, go start killing people or disable something. She could have done it very easily because she when she attacked the armory, she was like knifing everybody, and she's terrifying when she really wants to fight.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that they should have brought her into the base. I'm just saying that what her emotional situation is, because we had a disagreement about if she felt abandoned or not. You said that she didn't, and I said that she did. And I thought that the tone of her voice used in the English dub really presented it more so. Like there's elements that are missed when you only listen to it in its original language. If you don't really understand the original language as well, like the element that in UC that the black tri-stars are supposed to be Hicks. Did not pick that up in I mean, I realized in the UC they're supposed to be like buffoons, but really good at their job, buffoons.
Yeah.
Whereas when I listen to it in English, and they're all rednecks, and it's like, oh, wow, I get it now. That's the difference. That I don't really, the tone of voice you don't think would be different, but I can hear it more clearly in English. And she very much, if I was to describe her, sad and abandoned would be the way that I think her tone of voice comes across.
I agree with you now that I saw it again, especially what happens in the next episode and her own reaction with the handkerchief. I think that's the part to go like, yeah, no, that tracks. That very much tracks. Right. Now going to the next episode. Chapter 22 or Phase 22, Sword of the Blue Skies. Jibril dismissed Orb as inconsequential, and now he's relying on them to turn the tide. And Yuna is playing right into Logo's hands. I don't know which one is more stupid, Jibril due to his fanatism or Yuna's due to his overinflated ego. Because the opening scene is Jibril talking to the president, and he's
no, I know what you're saying. I was just thinking about your question. I don't know. I ask Yuna because the infantilism that you ascribe to Jibril might not be true. So if one isn't true and the other definitely is, then I can only lean on the one that I know is definitely true.
Well, you
describe Jibril as
a fanatic.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were describing his his penchant for like yelling and wanting his way, like infantile, like he's an infant.
Yeah. Well, he may have as well, but it's more that he's more a fanatic.
Well, because I was going to say that if he is all powerful, like if he has all control over basically everything on Earth, then his demand for control, his infantile need to be listened to, might just be the case. So it wouldn't be infantile if it's true. So, fanaticism, I don't know that that's a weakness. It's only a weakness if it's not a... If it's going to sound stupid because it's just going to be true. It's only a weakness if it's not a strength, right? And your belief in your own ability is a strength. It's confidence, essentially. Versus it's only a weakness if you're confident in a strength that you don't have. And right now, he has a power and authority, so the confidence is proven.
Well, no, because the thing is that in that scene and other scenes is he's like, he has these plans. He's at the idea, so I want to do this, but then he comes short every single time. He didn't expect the zaft to have a weapon that could neutralize the nukes. He is frustrated that the president is taking forces to fight in East Asia / Western Europe, right, to deal with the problem. And he's like, "What are you considering this? We have to kill the coordinates. That's what we have to do." And he's like, "Well, we don't have the resources." And it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, let Orb has a ability. Let's use that." When before he was like, Orb we don't have to worry about Orb." And I was like, "Oh shit, now I have to." Okay, well, talk to Orb, right? And he's like,
I don't know.
Like,
I would call that a strength, though. You're like, there's the difference here of you're calling him a flip-flopper, basically, whereas the ability to change your point of view on a thing to help serve your own interests, I would consider to be a strength. I was only flip-flopping if he was like operating in a political circle where his point of view could be hurt by his changing his mind, but since he is the ultimate authority, by apparently which all of Logos and Blue Cosmos operates, he can change his mind whenever he wants. So the fact that he's like, I don't give a shit about Orb, and then change his mind to say Orb actually has the strength that we need, suits him and it benefits him. So at this case, literally it's the opposite of a Eunice situation, if you think about it, where Eunice like send all of our forces to do this thing all the time. He actively, and maybe by mistake, held forces back that he can now call upon as the situation dictates. Which is to say that Orb has its own military that he can now call upon, that he recognizes Orb has.
Yeah, but I see it as somebody, not so much flip-flopping, more somebody who's grasping at straws, whose vision certainly outpaces his grasp constantly. That's why he gets mad. That always throws the wine, and the cat is always.
Well, that's why I said that's the difference between fanaticism being a strength and a weakness. If you're fanatical and you have the strength to back it up, then your fanaticism is your strength still. It's your confidence to be able to achieve what you can already achieve. But if your fanaticism is that you're stronger than your belief that you're stronger than you actually are, then it becomes your weakness because you're going to be overextending yourself.
Yeah, and also remember, if you can,
if you can, your shit memory. We all know your shit memory. Remember, if you can.
And for the audience as well, that when the plan to attack the nuke, the plans went off, the other members was like, "Well, we went with your multiple plans," and he's like, "Damn you!" Right? He's
he says
but we may have to reconsider this.
In their conversation, they mentioned that they have thousands of plans, and this was just one of them.
Yeah, and also when he's talking about the president, he seems to be like the Federation is putting out peace feelers, like, "Oh, you want to make peace with these people? Dude, that's getting in the middle of this." So like he's barely, like, he reaches out for Orb to regain control situation rather than like, oh well, we haven't tapped into Orb. How about what those motherfuckers are saying now, right? It's the sort of like,
I believe it's more of a revelation moment than a grasping at straws moment, because maybe he is grasping at straws, right? But at the same time, he's still having a revelation of, oh, wait, here's this resource, plus this is political motivation. We can establish this dominance over this country by this political family. This works out for me in so many different ways, right? It's like making a bad move in chess and then realizing that the other side of the board you haven't been paying much attention to because you've been so focused on taking out this one piece has actually been set up perfectly for you. So you might turn your attention over here grasping at some other way to win and then realize, oh, this all works out pretty damn well. I'm a fucking genius.
You're only a genius if it actually works out.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, in this situation,
you can fuck up into victory. I mean,
but if it works out, if it doesn't work, you just failed. Therefore, your genius is, like, whoa, you were such a genius, you failed.
Well, right? No. I mean, you can be a genius and fail, and still be a fuck up and achieve victory. I just mean, it's what's intentional versus what's accidental. Mm-hmm. Like the old Picard quote, you can do everything right and still fail.
Yeah. Anyway, to your next point.
I have to wonder what gives Jibril the authority to command Copeland. I mean, I understand that Jibril is essentially the leader of Logos, and that Logos created Blue Cosmos, which is the organization that seems to run the Earth Federation. But more so, I don't see what directly ties them together. Logos is acting like an Illuminati, an invisible force deciding what actions the powers that be should take. But where does Logos derive its authority from? Durandal proposed that Logos was an economic power by saying that it was the money in the military spending that drives them to push the war to continue. So does that mean that Logos' authority comes in the form of the economy? Or am I supposed to be thinking that they are just lobbying entire countries with bribes and payouts?
They are the heart of because the whole Merchant of Death thing is also the military-industrial complex. Logos could be that they're the heads of the corporations that provide,
But unlike other dystopian futures, we haven't established that the companies are running the countries, because it still seems like the political entities. Copeland, for example, is the president, right? So we haven't, I could see maybe, here's the thing where I try to defeat my own arguments. I could see if maybe we're in some sort of middle step where the unspoken authority lies in the corporations, but we haven't still seen. There's still a middle part here of by where does the company derive its authority over the nation state? If it's just economy, right? By economy, I mean money. That's why I pointed out the whole lobbying with bribes and payouts. Are they just paying them? Like, how much do you pay the president to be in your pocket? And then how much do you pay every president to be in your pocket?
And also, what's stopping the government from just ceasing literally the means of production? I have soldiers. You sold me the mechs I can now use to point a gun at your factory and seize it? Thank you very much, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like, we create the machine guns. Yeah, but we have the machine guns.
Well, but that just falls into my question. By what does Logos, or in this case, Jibril, derive his authority? Like, Copeland seems scared to talk to the guy. You're the president of the largest faction of the Atlantic. It's named after literally the place you control. Why are you afraid? If it's just money, are you afraid of displeasing the guy who's paying you? Is it funding? Is your public policy failing and you need the money from Logos to make the people of your country re-elect you? Like, what's going on? There's a whole political thing going on here that I just really don't understand. Because at one point, it kind of just looks like these are the bad guys. The bad guys have to be in power. Otherwise, this whole thing doesn't make sense. So we're not going to show you why they're in power. We're going to make Durandal have a whole conversation about why it's bad that they're in power. But I just don't understand why they're standing on top of, elected officials. Can I assume that the president is an elected official?
Yeah, I suppose so.
I mean, it's a title that denotes democracy. But again, I guess you can't have You know, you can have certain leaders.
Yeah, you can have. It could be literally that he owes his position, if it's an election, that they're the ones who paid essentially to put him in power, right? And now he has to pay them back. But
again, they have control of the entire, most of the planet, it seems like, except the people that haven't rebelled against them. How many people can how many elections can you buy?
I guess you don't have to buy all of them. You just have to buy the critical ones, but still. Yeah, it needs a little more explanation to see how it works. I can see that it could work, but we're not sure how it works. There's a lot of assumptions that are made, and only one character has put into words, was Durandal, which he probably certainly has his own agenda anyway. And by the way, who are the money men backing Saf and the plants? Because they have factories, they have corporations too. Is he free from that influence?
Well, they have a council. Also, the fact that, again, the plants and Zaft are independent entities in the way that, like, the U.S. military and the government are different entities, right?
Yeah.
Like the highest general in the military doesn't tell a state governor what to do, right?
Yeah, I
know. So
the
council that Zaft runs doesn't dictate plant policy, and we haven't been introduced to any element of oh, god damn it, brain. We were doing so good.
Corporate
capitalism is the word I was looking for. We haven't been introduced to any element of capitalism in the plants. Like, not once have we seen somebody buy anything.
There's shops and stuff like that, so
sure, but we don't know what kind of I keep mentioning that my favorite economy in sci-fi was from the Mars trilogy, where it's a caloric economy, where it's based on the amount of work you put in is the amount of stuff you can take out.
Well, we do see that Stella was bought some clothes. It was that we're going through some shop somewhere, so I guess. And we also see later on, we see on Earth,
Well, I think you already got it with the Stella buying clothes, because Stella isn't a plant. She's not a member of Zaft. She's not a member of Zaft or plant or whatever. So she wouldn't have any.
She would have the currency, whatever currency that
Yeah, currency wasn't the word I was looking for, but it's saying in here. She wouldn't have whatever method of trade that they would have if they were independent of. I'm assuming that they would have their own money too. So I don't know. The element that she's like an infiltrator anyway, she might be taking somebody else's account.
Yeah. I guess is my next point. This one it goes back to Stella. Maybe that will you can.
Well, my next one's also about them. So.
Yeah. And I put it in a form of a question. Will the memory erasing procedure keep Stella from thinking about Shin? In other words, and by that I mean will it stick?
Well, literally, the last part of my last statement was literally recognizing him on an instinctual level. So
yeah. So will it not? It does, because we see in the episode that she leaves the handkerchief behind. She doesn't recognize it.
Well, that's holding it too. Well, you're saying it's a handkerchief. I thought it was a bandana. But anyway, I don't know, because that is not Shin.
Yeah, but it is a connection to him. Right?
That doesn't. Again, I said on an instinctual level, an object is not a person, right? She seems to have a deep connection to Neo, which is what I'm talking about. Like, she might not. I think that she could forget who Neo is, see Neo, and feel welcomed by him, like that kind of instinctual level. That I think she'll see Shin again and recognize Shin. Maybe not know who he is, but feel comfortable around him for some reason. Now, a handkerchief or a bandana, whatever it may be, is just an object. In the timeline of events, is a symbol for us who knows what that connection is, but I don't think it's necessary if you, again, instinctual level. Say like a mother who lost her kid when he was a baby and then sees them again when they're like 20 years old. No way in hell they know what their baby looks like, but feels something, right? That whole thing.
Well, okay, let me put it this way. It's the equivalent of the flip phone that Chin carries around, right? You know,
Well, that's different because Shin knows who his sister is.
yeah, but it's an object in which she has a meaning to her or should have meaning to her, and objects can have powerful effects on people. Like, let's say that the mother lost her baby, but kept like the blanket that the baby had, right, and then it's like sees the kid, goes back to her house or room, whatever, it's like, and grabs a blanket, and it's like, oh, there's something here, right? Smells, objects
I think the
can be
problem
memory
is that
triggered.
you're chasing a trail that we know has no end because it's already dead ended.
I mean, but that's a question whether
I
it's
don't think the
how
handkerchief slash whatever. I don't think the piece of cloth has any meaning anymore. It had meaning when she had her memory, and her leaving it behind is our indication that the memory is gone. That's why I leaned on the instinctual level, because it doesn't require an object. That's just all up here. You don't, or here, depending on where you want to put it. But again, that no longer has any meaning. It has meaning to us because we saw the episode. To the character, that memory is gone. Why was that on my foot? Right? She didn't
yeah,
keep.
well,
I'm saying it's a dead end because she didn't keep it. Like, if she had, like, what's this? Oh, well, put it in pocket. And then later pulled it out of her pocket and, like, that would be a thing. But she literally left it behind. It's gone. That's why I'm saying it's meaningless. Like, we actively know the doctors tried to take it from her to begin with. You don't think that left in a room where she left it behind, they're not going to be like, throw that away. There's no reason that thing should still be in the pod when she comes back. So Sting, Stella, and Owl get their minds wiped every so often. We don't really know how often, as we can only see them in those pods every so often without reference to how much time has passed since the last time they were in. Still, it seems to mean that they are constantly being reset back to a default point in their memories, assuming that they are just rewinding them back to a pre-recorded point anyway. If they are actively editing their memories, that would be something else. If they are just being reset, then they are whoever they were when they joined the program, just waking up in an advancing timeline of the war that they have no memory of, like a Gundam 51st States scenario. That would determine why their personalities are the way they are. Like if Stella nearly died before whatever mental save point they gave her, and she's essentially stuck reliving a recent trauma every reset. Alternatively, if they are actively trimming their individual memories, that would be harder to parse from the outside, but would be at least it would at least let them develop as characters based on what they didn't get erased. Like leaving the memories of their battles in place to allow them to improve their skills could also allow them a viewpoint to understand what is going on and comment on it, or even playing around it.
oh, I guess we don't know. I think it's just a reset. The way to describe it, but
Well,
we'll have to see how.
there's multiple levels to the comment. Specifically, the end is if they're actively having elements of the memory trimmed out, they could develop as characters. Otherwise, there's not a lot of development as characters they can do if they're being reset, because they just instantly become the character that they were before. And actively, you're getting away from any forward progress they could make as individuals. Yeah. Whereas they could become actual characters if you're editing them, because that they could change their viewpoints on things, or at least develop into more rounded characters, just missing whatever bits of information that they previously had. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I think it explains why Stella is constantly afraid and becomes seemingly less afraid the more time she spends away from the machine, because if you, say, got into a traumatic car accident, right? And then the very next day, I wiped your memory, and you went like, oh shit, the traumatic car accident just happened again in my memory.
Yeah.
and you're constantly being brought back to that. She could constantly go from scared to somebody who's working through that trauma. That's why the longer she goes without getting her memory wiped, the further away from the trauma she gets. But then the mind wipe happens, and then she's right back to it, which might mean why she's so attached to Neo.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe Neo was her comfort then, and then she still recognizes him as a comfort.
Or they could also, there's an aspect of programming as well. I mean, they're supposed to be these super weapons, so I guess they wipe their memories and they probably program them to be superior in some way. Like that might be part of the process as well. So
I don't know about that because they haven't introduced the idea of putting anything in. Yeah. All they've described is taking stuff out.
Now, this is more like a side note, but something that came to mind when I was watching. That scene where the fishing boat sails right past the warships is just dumb, to me at least. Modern carrier forces keep a 100-mile radius exclusion zone around them in peacetime, a larger area in wartime. What if that ship had been loaded with missiles, torpedoes, or even high explosives, right?
Two things. One, that's the orb ship, so we know it's dumb already. Because Yuna's probably saying, like, nah, let it go, you know?
Oh.
Two, they're literally going through an area where people get active military ships get like rockets launched against them from the shore. So they are literally going 1-for-1 with reality on this, I feel like.
Yeah, but you wouldn't allow any ships around you. Like, if you see a plot of a ship, it's like, stop or turn away. We're not going to allow you to come any closer.
I don't know. Right? Again, I think it was, like 15 years ago? Literally, a destroyer got rammed by, like a speedboat with explosives on it? Literally, in that part of the world?
That happened because the ship was... The ship was exiting harbor, and the boat actually had clearance to get close to the ship to deliver some supplies or something like that. And it turned out that it was full of explosives, and when it got closer, it blew up.
I'm just saying that shit happens. So
it happens, even when you take advantage, but there's a difference between, we deliberately faked our way to get close to the ship, right? So get some supplies.
Also, I mean, for nothing, but you're also like an invasion force in the area, and you have no authority to command other ships in the region. Also, this like fishing boat might not even have any active communications.
No, they probably have like a radio or something, or you just blow it out of the water. I mean, you don't take any chances.
I mean,
I'm not saying that is right. I'm saying
guess on one hand, this is the Earth Federation now, who doesn't really give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
But on the same hand, this is also Orb, who wouldn't. I feel like.
I mean, they know how to fire warning shots at least, so it's like. They're very good at that, at least.
I think the scenario is that general military doctrine when it comes to this stuff, but there might be specific military doctrine that applies very specifically to Middle Eastern canals that we're unaware of.
I mean, if we're talking about an area that is, you might even have you may have, for example, decrease the area of exclusion zone because literally it would be over land or something like that.
Well, granted, here's what I'm going to say is that if you're going to decrease the size of the exclusion zone, I know it looked like they were relatively close to one another on screen because they're passing by in what appears to be a 2-dimensional plane. But at the same time, that was a carrier passing by a small fishing boat, and the fishing boat wasn't even rocked by the passing of a massive carrier. So I have to think that it was actually some distance away.
Yeah, but it's like the guy literally taking photos with like a normal
and a very steady hand because the ship was not being rocked. I think passing by a carrier, as close as it seemed to have been, would have fucked this thing up in the water, and it was moving not at all. So I have to think it was some distance away.
I guess, but I also said that it could have rockets, missiles, or even torpedoes, so it could reach the air. It's what we call as Q ships, where you have ships that are civilian but have weapons on them. So yeah,
right. I know. I'm not debating that. I'm also just stating that there might be elements at play here that we're unaware of. Or as much as we like to know that we know everything, we are not experts on the entire world's geopolitical spectrum of military engagement versus whatever is going on down there in the realm of what politics are being played by whatever government is currently in control of the canal. And by the way, it is still contested territory. It might be a literal free-for-all shit show down there.
Okay, your next point.
My last one, actually. So obviously Kira showed up to do his typical thing of disarming the major combatants, like in Season 1. From the outside perspective, though, he just shot a zaft ship in a combat situation. In no way can I see that becoming it's just Kira situation. If not for the fact that he represents no nation and isn't with the Earth Federation, that would be tantamount to a declaration of war. At best, he's an unlawful enemy combatant. At worst, a terrorist, as he's literally committing acts of violence in pursuit of a political, ideological objective.
I have a note about that, which is my last, but I'll jump into it. I still don't understand why Kira targeted Minerva's 10-houser cannon without even trying to communicate with the crew of the ship. I get that he's trying to stop the violence, but considering that who's attacking, he should have gone after the Earth Federation forces first.
Well, I mean, I can answer the why he did that without communicating. Because assumedly he just showed up and the thing was about to fire. Like, literally, they said fire, it was about to release. He had no time.
Yeah, but if he's going to interfere, I mean, he could have just communicated. Like, yeah, stop whatever you're doing. I'm coming in. And I'm here, blah, blah, blah. He could have talked, at least. And he just shows up. Oh, that shit's going to fire. Boom. Okay, next. Who's next, right? He's like...
I mean, the argument that you should probably make here is that communications distance is longer than a laser, probably.
Yeah.
But, again, the element of he fired at literally the last minute. I'm not defending anything else. I'm just pointing out that the thing was about to go off. He had that second to stop it.
Yeah, but again, and also...
And also the fact that they were targeting basically the entire formation of the Orb fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how dumb our boy on the other side was, because the other admirals everyone had to listen to what he said, so they were all basically in formation. They called evasive maneuver, but I don't know how much that would have played. So the idea was that they would have actually taken out the entire Orb fleet, possibly with the one blow. Because we know that the Earth Alliance guys were off on the sides, because they said we'd come in on whatever side you lured them into. So, essentially, also, he's been living at Orb the whole time, so he might have some loyalty to some of these people.
I mean, he has a loyalty to Kigali, right? And to other people there who helped him out, so...
So, yeah, I mean, he essentially...
Yeah, I think loyalty would be a too strong a word. I mean, sympathy to Orb.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what he's been doing with his time. He might have actual loyalty to some of those people. We don't know who he knows. But my point stands is that was the very last minute. Sure, he could have communicated ahead of time, but wouldn't have had a cool last minute show up scene. I guess things that writers don't do anymore is that they could have had somebody in the back of the bridge, like, hold on one second, what? Somebody in the back just like on communications, just like not figuring out what's going on.
Or somebody detecting the freedom.
Yeah, and then we see the shot, and then we go back to the bridge, and it's like, wait, it's Kira! And then you pan to the shot of Kira showing up. Showing that he did try to communicate, but something was happening in the area. Maybe there's like a dampening field or whatever, and that's when they finally pick it up. They never try to do that. They go for the cool shot, and then that's it.
Also, they not only go for the cool shot, I think they also want to go for the setup of everybody's like, oh, there's a new enemy. We're going to attack him, right? The Orbit's going to attack him because he's a new guy. Because Yuna has to know the freedom, they're not friends, right? So it's like, destroy the freedom. I see Yuna panicking, going like, oh shit, that's Kira. Kill him, right? And you see, Saf going like, oh, we had our biggest gun taken out. Take him out, right? So you have the Orb fighting against Kira, and so you have Athrun going like, oh, do I go against my friend? That has to be Kira. And now that Hein is there, it's like, oh, you're not being loyal to Saf, right? And it's like, oh, but I'm a member of Freedom, blah blah blah. I can see it basically sets up a situation where everybody just goes after Kira, and of course, Shin hears that it's Kira. It's like, you motherfucker killed my family, so he's gonna go after him. I think it would be
dumb for Orb to go after Kira. obviously, from
It
what I
would be
said,
dumb.
the outside perspective, they didn't attack Orb. They attacked Zaft. So
Yeah.
you should, by default, think he's on your side. We know he's not from the outside, but think he's on your side. Here's the thing. I think the smartest thing to do from this point would be
Everybody pull back. Pull out, basically. Pull back.
Oh, no,
Everybody
actually,
pull
I'm
back.
saying the other direction. Orb should sail straight through, because here's the problem. I might be considering Kira from the Gundam 00 perspective, because Gundam 00, they attacked anybody that attacked anybody. So, if you were in the Gundam 00 perspective, just sail forwards. They're going to try and attack you, and these guys will just attack the people attacking. So, I think Kira is more likely to pull the 00 perspective and attack anyone that tries to keep the fight going. So you could probably sail in, land all your troops. So long as you don't actually shoot at anybody or do anything hostile, Kira might not do anything. But if you start attacking Kira, Kira's going to attack you back. You start attacking Zaft, Kira's probably going to attack you to stop you from attacking Zaft. You might just be able to sail on through.
Yeah, but remember who's actually in charge of our forces? Yuna. And Yuna knows who Kira is.
I don't think that Yuna is immediately hostile to Kira for being Kira. He kidnapped Kigali, so if you want Kigali back, you're not going to kill him, because otherwise you might never find her. I don't think your hostility towards being shown up at your wedding, because ultimately Yuna got everything he wanted. What is Yuna angry about?
Or he might be afraid that, we know
he's afraid. Literally, we know he's afraid of the thing, which would be a great reason not to attack it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm on a ship, and I'm not sure I can swim. So, I'm probably not going to get sunk on this thing. Also, he's a fan of history. He's got to know the suction force of a ship going down will pull you under. I don't want to get sunk here today. In fact, sail us to the closest port. I'd like to get off now.
Talking about Yuna, I'll talk to my last point here. My second to last, but I still jumped into that. Yuna nerdiness sounds like a prep school bullshit the way he says it. It's the way he delivers the line.
That's because you hate him.
About. That's true. But
yeah, I mean, so you're going to read into whatever you're going to read into. I don't think it reads as prep school bullshit. I just reads as a nerd to me, which is why he gets bonus points.
It is neither it is as he neither understands the stakes or doesn't care about the lives he's wasting just to suck up to the Earth Federation. Like, think about this very cool thing, and everybody's like, motherfucker, we're about to go to combat. People are going to die. Just cool it with your because he sounds like he's one. Oh well, let me tell you how smart I am, and people are going like, we don't have no time for this shit.
I mean, they literally do have time for it. They're not. He didn't say that like on the edge of the battle. He says that like a day away on sailing.
But say I don't have time for this shit is like they don't have the patience for it. It's like,
well, you not having the patience for it is different from not having the. If you were saying he said this, like, launch all the fighters. By the way, how cool is it that I named it this? That's one thing. That's not having the time for it. Not having the patience for it is just you not liking the guy. And when I say you, I don't just mean you. I mean like the characters too. If they like, God damn it, that's just them not liking the guy. That has nothing to do with how his nerdiness shows up.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have
a day to kill before you get to the place, and all you're doing is monitoring the situation around you and making sure you get there safe, you can have a conversation about some nerdy shit. It's fine.
Yeah, but the way he said, I mean, some other character was very serious, like, yeah, no, this is where, mythology said this, and you can be nerdy about it, and this makes it very important.
He literally ends it with like,
oh no.
Yeah, he literally ends it with like, yeah, he does. That's what I'm saying. He ends it like, pretty cool, right? He didn't say, bet you didn't learn about that in your, poor ass schools you went to. He didn't handle it like a prep bully from like an 80s movie. He's actually like a nerd who's like, that's pretty cool, right? He wants acceptance. You don't ask if something is cool if you don't want somebody to say back, no, it's fucking stupid.
The problem with that is that it's his, at best, it's his failure to read the room. right? He's been like,
so
this
he's
is a cool
socially
episode.
awkward. So fucking what? Like I said, he reads
But
to
it's,
me.
which is
He reads to
bullshit
me
because
he reads to me like a
because he's
guy
a
at a Warhammer tournament who's like, "Look how cool I painted my figures." Like he read the room badly, but he's excited, and I'm backing the excited nerd, 100%.
the problem is he's known how to read the room before, at least with Kagali anyway. But now
hell, no chance in hell. When he's like,
you know,
"But Kakali, you're just a fucking idiot," in a room full of people that are like asking for her opinion. That was a bad read. It's his dad that comes along and gives like a rational argument. His dad could read the room.
he did.
No.
Yeah, he's like, it's a disconnect. It may be nerdy, but it's a disconnect that he goes like, and we're like, the fuck, dude, what the hell?
Look, I understand that he is a bad character. Not a bad character, but he's a character that is bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to fault the show for adding character personality to a bad. Okay, it's hard to describe a character as being bad.
They do add personality. It's just that it's not a good. It's not badly written. It actually shows how much of
is that guy annoying to be around in real life? Yes. At the same time, we're in a nerd group. I mean, we gotta support our fellow nerds where we can. Now, I'm not saying support him in like conquest of the world and enslaving people, but if he wants to show me his Warhammer figurines, I'm there.
If he was just talking about ships like in his room somewhere, it's like, okay, fine. But this is like, we're about to go to battle, and what about this cool thing? I'm like,
for me, that is an endearing trait where you have just found another thing to dislike him about for no reason. Like, sure, I will back. I will back you on the calling out Kigali in the boardroom or his weird. Sorry, I'm trying to think of something else, but I was thinking there's racism towards coordinators. All the negative traits are clearly negative. This is one harmless trait that he has that is not negative unless you make it negative. And I don't see why you're making it negative. It's literally harmless. He has a nerdy excitement for history and applied it to the one thing he could apply it to.
Yeah. Oh, also there's the part where he meets Neo and it's like, oh yes, we're gonna send our troops first, and people.
Again, that is something you could clearly say is negative about him.
Yeah,
but
he's
not
like, I'm gonna send my people into the slaughter. It's like,
no, he doesn't say I'm gonna send the thing in the slaughter. He's excited about being on the front. He doesn't understand that it's a stupid thing. He's not. And there's a difference between
even the Earth Alliance people are finishing going like, okay.
He's not actively saying, yeah, I'm sending my men into slaughter. No, he's saying, yeah, we'll take the front because he's one of those. He thinks being in the front means being more important.
Yeah.
Again, he's a giant ass nerd, and I appreciate the nerd aspects of him. But just because he's a giant ass too. Just because he's an ass and a giant bad guy doesn't mean that the nerd aspects of him are a part of that as well. You can have independent parts of your personality that aren't bad on their own.
I can see your Tumblr page now. Yuna is actually a good guy because he's a nerdy shit, and you write like 5 paragraphs.
No, we literally talked about this earlier, where he's like on the bottom. He's got 0 points, and I said I gave him 2 points. And then we even gave the compromise that normal people are like at 50 points. So he's like at 2 points, and a normal person's at 50 points. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm just saying he's got some good points.
I don't see it, but
yeah. But again, my problem is that you're disparaging like the only good part about the character for just the fact that he's a bad guy, right? I don't know. I just don't think that's worthwhile. I think we have to appreciate anything about any character that we can, even the annoying ones, because then otherwise, what are we doing but complaining about them to the end of the earth?
Yeah. Anyway, those were my notes.
All right. Well, I guess there's nothing left to do then but hop on into it.
オーブ。
そう、援軍オーブだって。
そんな、なんであの国が。君は本当は
It has a tiny little,
じ
yeah.
ゃないのか。だから頭にくるんだろ。違いますよ、そんなの。
熱分確認。1時の方向、数20。モビルスーツです。機種特定、オーブ軍村雨、アストレイ。
くそー。
I guess it also implies that the hero ship is making the journey here the entire time. Because I assume that Kira just didn't fly here on his own.
No intro music?
You thought they'd cut before Kira got here?
Yeah. And also giving Kira the heroic music as intro.
Well, because the show thinks he's the hero.
Yeah.
They don't call him Jesus Yamato for no reason.
Yeah.
And we didn't even address the fact that Fra was in the area, but then again, we still don't know what Fra is up to. That's why none of my thoughts were about Fra, even though...
Yeah, I should have thought about it. I do have a thought about Fra, because I think that Fra is actually working with Kira.
I don't think she's working with Kira, but I do think she's working with somebody, because obviously, as we saw, they were taking pictures of the carrier and everything, and transmitting it to somebody. I obviously don't think she was working for the Earth Alliance, because they were fighting them last time. I doubt she was working with Zaft, giving, they killed her boyfriend. Might be another faction.
Well, yet another faction.
Well, why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not there's a limit to the number of factions.
Well, it comes to a point where it's like having too many Spider-Man villains in a movie, It comes to be confusing.
I don't know, how many British political parties are there?
Yeah, we only care really about two of them. Labour and...
I'll be honest, I don't care about any of them. I don't live there.
True, but...
I don't...
True, but if you were going to...
I watch a lot of BBC panel shows that deal with the news, and I still don't care about them.
Uh-huh.
To me, they're more like figureheads, who's in charge of the party, who we're making fun of at the time.
The shadows of war.
Aim all anti-aircraft guns at that thing that just fired at us.
Oh, he's happy. Yuna's shocked.
Time for Shin to get some revenge. That was here, like I said. Must have been crossing the distance with them. Time to launch everything.
Wait, is that
Rose?
Kadali?
Yeah, it has to be, right?
Yeah.
Or Rose, or Rose, or whatever. Or Rogue, I can't even remember anymore. I think this is the wrong move. I understand what she's going for, but she's also from the ship that just fired on the Zaft ship. So literally the first shot Orb took against Zaft was Kigali, the force Kigali was with. Yeah, the moment Shibrel realized.
I mean, yes, you kidnapped her, so. Not really. He was out of power, but on to the purpose. He was a figure.
No, I argue that point. We already argued that point before. About how stupid Kira was. It's my point anyway. Because again, Kira didn't talk to Kigali about this at all. He just abducted her.
でも今はきっと違いますでしょ。今の鏡さんにならあの時見えなくなっていたものも
Again, not for
思い出して
nothing,
らっしゃると思いますよ。
but in a few minutes from now, you'll be part of the force that opened fire on a zaft ship. You're like calling for them to back off, but you just attacked a zaft ship. You remember what I said about Kira being a part of no nation and thus not being a declaration of war? Now it's a declaration of war.
そうね。
One might call it a shadow of war.
キラ、
You were reading episode titles.
かがり。
今さら馬鹿げた干渉かもしれないが、できることならこの戦闘、私は止めたい。
Speaking the opposite of what I just said. Look, I don't know how this works, but I have to think that if you're a ship carrying a political leader who is not, like, being held against their will, but is actively dictating the policies of what's going on the ship,
こうして戦うばかり
that
の
when that ship fires upon another nation, you're probably
Yeah.
responsible.
だから頼む、キラ。そうして少しずつでも間違えてしまった道を今からでも戻らねば。
Once again,
オーブも
by attacking somebody. I know it feels like I'm harping on this, but do we know that nobody died when you fired on that Zaft ship?
カガリユラーサーがオーブ連合首長国代表首長であることに変わりはない。その名において命ずる。
I always love characters that
オ
go,
ーブ軍はその理念にそぐわぬこの戦闘を直ちに停止し、軍を引け。
Yeah, that's where Earth Alliance jumps and attacks the Orb forces if they don't attack.
well, I think more so, obviously, the Minerva might not attack them, but there's plenty of Zaft people around here that would have no...
ユーナロマセイラン。これはどういうことです？
that would have no reason not to attack somebody that just attacked one of their
いや
ships.
これは
あれは何です？本当に帰国の代表ですか？ならば、それがなぜ今頃あんなものに乗って現れて。
There's also the element that there's a couple of faith members out here that can just do whatever the fuck they
お
want.
答えいただかないと、お国元も含めていろいろと面倒なことになりそうですが。
これはいやだからあれはあんなもの私は知らない。
あ、
ユーナ様、何をおっしゃいますか？
あれはストライクルージュ。あの紋章も
Again, here's the thing, is I don't think this is necessary at all.
だからといってなんでカガリが乗ってるってことになる？そんなのわからないじゃないか。
しかし、
I don't think you can tell me there's not one person on Zaft that wouldn't have preemptively opened fire once they were shot at.
僕にはわかる。ホットなんだぞ、僕は。
ユーナ様。
でなければ操られてるんだ。本当のちゃんとした僕のカガリならこんなバカげた僕に恥をかかせるようなことをする。
Make a fool out of me.
艦長、ユーナ様。
何をしてる？
What, are we listening to this conversation too? What was that? Tali went like, hang on, wait a second.
胸を打つんだよ。合戦よーい。
あなたという方は。
でなきゃこっちが地球軍に撃たれる。国も僕らオーブのためにここまで来たんだぞ。
I mean, that's a fair point, though.
はい、やめますってすぐか。
艦長。
Literally, your backs have been against the wall the entire time.
本艦は今一番不利なのよ。まったく。
Yeah, to be fair, if that was the Minerva, I'd be like, back away
こ
slowly.
のままオーブが引くなんてことは。
艦長、動きがあったらこっちも出ますよ。いいですね。
ええ、お願い。
ミサイル少女。
Yeah.
アンノーンモビルスーツ。戸高一佐。我らを惑わす。賊軍を撃つ。
早く撃て。
頼むぞフリーダム。
What is he counting on?
Oh, the freedom firing, shooting down all the missiles. It does it every time. Remember, it's got like 76. See? It targets everything.
It's to prove that he is who he says he is.
No, just
Again.
Todaka is doing what he has to do because he's being commanded to do it, hoping that the freedom will do what it does every time. Doesn't have to prove anything. He's just hoping it'll save them. Because remember, it was the freedom and the justice that shot down every nuke going at the plants.
Yeah.
Back in season 1, obviously.
Yeah.
This is all super stupid, though. Once again, Kigali effectively declared war on the plants with this whole move anyway. And now she's endangered Orb as well.
待ってました。お任せってね。
アーサー、迎撃。
はい。
メイリー、モビルスーツ全機発進させて。はい。
行けー。くそ、やらせるか。
Also, again, I hate this too.
Yeah.
That we brought in Zaku's and now we have a goof. Wrong show. There was one thing about being inspired by Universal Century, but just ripping every name off.
何やってるの。うちもさっさと攻撃させて。モビルスーツ隊、ほら。いえ、しかしミネルヴァ撃つんだよ。また言われちゃうじゃないか。うちは地球軍なんだよ。
Scolded again?
Look,
He's like talking like a child.
don't focus on Yuna's stupidity. It's the least important thing in this entire situation.
なんですと。あれがそもそも我が国混乱の最大の原因でしょ。だから一緒に片付けて。あの仮面男に。
I mean, we already know he's not even pulling the strings here.
まずいでしょ。
今日こそ落ちろ、この野郎。くそ
大部軍モビルスーツ各隊は地球軍と共にミネルヴァへの攻撃を再開せよ。あれはカガリ様ではない。あれはカガリ様ではない。
カガリ様ではない。偽物。
I also like the idea that they're now introducing the concept of somebody being an imposter of somebody else. As though this could have some ramification for Mir, rather.
大部分、私の声が聞こえないのか。言葉がわからないのか。大部分、戦闘をやめろ。
カガリ、もうダメだ。残念だけど、もうどうしようもないみたいだね。
Well, here's your whole he should have communicated with them thing.
I mean, you try it first. But
Doesn't
not
believe in
this.
it. Look, again, I'm just incensed that Kira opened fire on a zaft ship in the middle of a battle zone and thought that this was going to stop the fight somehow.
Yeah.
What the hell is Shin and them up to right now?
回避、取り舵中。
I think he's shooting down just orb ships, orb mechs.
Well, we haven't seen Shin, Hien, or Atherin do anything yet.
No, they're fighting with the other.
裏見た。岩作を前へ出せ。2隻一気に追い込むんだ。
回 比下げ舵15効果
Time to bust that nut.
Yeah.
バルトフェルドさん、カガリとアークエンジェルを頼みます。
了解。でも俺キラほどの腕はないからね。そちらもフォロー頼みますよ、ラミアス艦長。
了解
What are you gonna pilot?
Remember, he has his own fighter.
The last time I saw him in a fighter, it was the dog-looking thing. Yeah, so what's he gonna pilot when we're over the water? I also hate that they made it literally a goof.
Yeah.
I'm literally one step up. Hey, shields that stop beam sabers. That's new.
Hey, he's on more to some.
Killing your own people now. Oh, that's right from the opening. The gold and red one. I kind of feel like less lives would have been lost if they had just let them fire the Tannhauser cannon.
Yeah.
Because you probably would have destroyed a significant amount of their fleet. They would have had to retreat, and the whole battle would have, like, mostly been avoided. Plus, all the mobile suits were in the air, so they probably wouldn't have been hit by the thing, so all the pilots would have survived. Do you think Kigali would have the balls to land on the command ship and get out of her mobile suit?
Not at this stage, no.
You know, the whole she's a fake Kigali, just land there and prove that she's real. Oh, now we care about not hitting anything. Here's the thing. It's the thing I hated the most about Gundam 00 was the stupidity of showing up to fight just to stop fights.
Wow. So precise they took out the engines. Oh, he's in the seed state.
Yeah, he's also the main character of the story, even when he's not on screen.
バリアント
何なんだあれは。一体どっちの味方なの。くそ、冗談じゃないぜ。
お前はなんだ。
キラやめろ。なんでお前がこんな。
手当たりしないかよ。この野郎生意気だ。
I think the element that's the hardest to deal with is the fact that they're basically
Yeah.
a third party with no backing, but with a military as strong as anything else.
私をよくも。
Somebody ever get in the cold? Somebody get in the cold here? Really?
Whoops.
We just fucking met him. So all of that wasn't subterfuge, it was just to make us like him, and we didn't even do
Yes.
that. I can't believe somebody just got in a cold.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, literally, we would just do the same thing again.
Right in the middle.
はいね。
I guess we had our predictions were wrong. I thought it was going to be Luna Maria, but
Well,
we
no,
got
I mean,
Heinz.
my prediction was that he was, like, there to do a thing, and clearly it wasn't that. Sorry, I'm thrown because we were clearly supposed to like him, and that did not happen at all.
Oh, he damaged the impulse, right? He took out the impulse arm.
Yeah,
That was Kira going like, fuck.
yeah,
He
you did.
disarmed me.
No, I thought you put that
I
together.
didn't, because he was doing that to all the other
Well, yeah, no, it was
mobile
like,
suits. So I didn't.
I was thinking in my head, oh, now they're just showing how much better Kira is than Shin.
Yeah.
No, it's alright. It's supposed to be very serious, and I know that I went through a lot of that episode just shitting on everything that was happening, so everyone is gonna fucking hate me in the comments, as per usual. But just the two elements of one thing to cold somebody, and that's like, what, right at the same time that Nicole got killed in the first season, so
Yeah.
it's just copycatting. But two, we called Heinz so wrong that clearly the show was like, oh, he's an affable guy. He just wants everyone to be friends. And we're like, this guy is up to something. And no, they just wanted us
Oh,
to
yeah.
like him, and we didn't.
思いだけで
Yeah. It was up to dying, basically.
それを知る心は同じ。何が隔てたのかわからぬまま、人はいつの間にか違う道に立つ。
Oh, now we get
そ
the
して流れゆく
Hot
時の
Spring
中で
episode?
今またシンとレイの見たものは。次回、機動戦士ガンダム
What have Chin and Ray discovered?
すれ違う視線。風間く海へ飛び立てセイバー。
I guess there's also the element that you were right about Fraw, because she just ran up
It
to
seems
Kira
like
there in that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's also weird that it's the voice of Ramus doing the end credits, but she's also calling out for the savior, which is Atherin's.
Guess so.
I
One
don't know.
time when you joined them.
I think this is all
I
very
guess.
dumb. Literally, many people died as if you didn't show up. Means that you were unsuccessful at your peacekeeping operation. Because again, my point of view, if they had shot the Tannhauser, a bunch of the orb ships would have been destroyed. Would have probably signaled them to retreat. But also they had launched all of their mobile suits into the air, so those probably wouldn't have been hit. So all the pilots would have survived. I don't know.
Yeah, but in that case, then it would have been truly a point of no return. Well, a unit would have been cooked, but yeah, that would have been a bonus.
I just don't see how the death count has changed here.
I mean, they failed. I mean, all the suits that Kira disabled survived, I guess.
Yeah, but in the meantime, they're still attacking one another, which means other suits are still being destroyed. I don't know. You open fire on a zaft ship, and then a representative of Orb comes out of the ship that the other mobile suit came out of, and declares itself to be the leader of Orb. So in that perspective, Orb has effectively attacked Zaft.
Yeah.
And the command issue orders is don't attack Zaft. And wait a second, this is very confusing. And I have to agree from Yuna's perspective on this one that would be the disorienting effect that you would want to have on the battlefield when you would start to launch your attack. They're trying to confuse us.
Yeah, but Yuna basically is just like, he's in a panic, like, oh no, they're
I'm just talking about his initial. I'm talking about his initial perspective, not his obviously whatever the fuck is going on there. That's why I said don't pay attention to Yuna. He is the least important part of this whole thing.
He's a clown, basically.
Well, he's also being manipulated by Neo. I'm going to say Zeon. The fact there's Zaku's and Goofs flying around here is fucking me up. Yeah, I hated this. I hated this from the perspective that this is also just another Josh A mixed with Nicole. I don't know. There's just so much here. That you have nothing to talk about.
I mean, the thing is that there's so much to do. I had to disentangle it all. I mean, like I said in my notes, had Kira going after the Earth forces, right? Directly. It's like, yeah, these are the guys that are really pushing everything. And then, I mean, again, he had communicated to the Minerva. It's like, don't open fire. Or Kigali had been the one doing the communication. Kigali's there. It's like, don't open fire. All forces are not your enemies. It's like, okay, maybe you buy time. And then Kira goes and tries to disarm, which is what he does.
Repaint the scene.
The Air Forces.
Repaint the scene. I feel like the better way to have done that would be your thing. Kigali gets on the radio ahead of time, communicates to everybody, stand down, don't fight, or this is your representative Kigali telling you not to fight. In which case, they wouldn't have been charging up the Tannhauser cannon ahead of time. Or maybe they would. They wouldn't have said fire, though. So there wouldn't be a last-minute shot. And then maybe somebody does go to shoot. But it wouldn't have been the main ship. It would have been like somebody from the Earth Force or something. And that's where Kira shows up. Does the one shot, blows a cannon out of someone's hand, whatever. But that's the threat. Now, Kira is there as the threat, and everyone has seen what Kira can do in a battlefield. Josh A, the plants, nuke situation, all of that. That's the threat, and that's what you end that last episode on. Not this one, last episode on. Of just the freedom hovering there in the middle, between the two fleets. So that's there. And then, if you want to launch into this battlefield thing, that's when you say, okay, we're all just going to fucking ignore the fact that freedom is here. We're going to fight whatever fight, because Yuna's going to say, Neo's going to communicate to Yuna, who is that on the radio? Same manipulation, everything. But you don't have to have the literal neutral peacekeeping party be the first to open fire.
Yeah.
That is dumb. Imagine if the UN peacekeeping forces, showed up in the Middle East, the first thing they did was nuke. Not nuke. They dropped bombs on a place and then walked in now don't you guys go attacking each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That was mishandled, and I guess it was designed to set up everybody fighting Kira, but then nobody really fought Kira until the very end when the people who fought Kira was Stella, basically, because she's like, you're getting in the way, I'm gonna kill you, and and
then Hein just wanders in,
and Hein also fights against Kira because you shouldn't get in the middle of this, and that's what gets Hein killed, because he was actually winning the battle against Stella. But then when he turned to attack Kira from behind, and Stella also wanted to attack Kira from behind, that's why he got in the cold, right? It's like, I'm going to kill this guy. Oh, shit. Yeah. So, that setup was...
It's entirely pointless character, as it turns out.
Yeah. And also the captain is like, well, arrest this guy. Why did we? This is insane. Just arrest him and take him away or something. Like if he thinks that his ship, if he believes in Kigali, his shooter like, well, fire the missiles because I'm sure that.
Well, the problem is
Freedom
once
will
again,
stop him.
once again, it's the chain of command, as we keep talking about during a bunch of
Yeah.
episodes. He still reports to Yuna.
Yeah, but if Kigali's still technically the,
You have no proof that it is Kigali. For all you know, that's a recording.
Mm.
You don't want to. You don't want
But
to be the
also,
guy
one of the
who.
things that pisses me off is that Kigali's having this flashback to what her father is saying. That's literally what she should have opened with. Like, we are Orb stand for defense of ourselves. We don't invade other people. We defend ourselves. That would have been more like, it doesn't matter if she's fake. That's the message of Orb.
In a
People are like,
repainting of the
shit.
scenario, I would have gone with she lands on the ship. First thing,
Yeah.
not radio communications, lands on the ship. I know we call it stupid because it's the situation in which anyone could snipe you from anywhere. But it happens
Yeah.
so often in Gundam. You land on the ship, you walk out of the cockpit, you take your helmet off. I'm Kigali, I'm the representative of Orb, stand down. Right? She had the gumption to go out there in the thing. She could have at least the balls to go out there, present herself. Because again, if the idea is that she's fake, she's recording, she's whatever, prove it.
Yeah, but this
prove them wrong.
now this suffers from, this is episode 21 out of 50, so we can't have the battle end here, like because we already know that our Federation is losing the battle anyway.
We legit can.
So
We totally can still have the
yeah.
battle. The battle doesn't have to make sense. I mean, well, it has to make sense enough that we don't have these arguments like we're having after the point.
Yeah.
But literally, you can have Kigali land on there, prove that she's real. He pulls out the she's brainwashed argument or whatever. Or the most poignant thing, the most important thing Yuna said this entire episode is if we don't attack, they're going to attack Orb. Literally, that's if you don't attack right now, no matter what, your friends and families back home are going to be hurt. That's literally it's a gun to your head moment. We've got to do this no matter what. And it's like, I don't care. That's Kigali. That's not the situation we're in anymore.
So yeah, I mean, this could have been made better. You can still have the fight, but I guess they wanted to put Kira in a position where he looks like the bad guy to the people fighting, and that's why he did the.
I think he looks like the bad guy to us. I don't think he looks like the bad guy to the people, which is an unfortunate bit. Again, I don't think the episode. I think you could still do everything in the episode, everything that happens, right? Because this is supposed to be one of those set pieces that shows how bad the situation's gotten, or what the political position is of everybody in play. But I think it was disingenuous to the characters, and it's disingenuous to the scenario in which they put everybody in. Because, again, we shot down the Minerva, now protect the Minerva. Well, great way to protect it is not to shoot it down in the first place.
Yeah. And also you're shooting something you might need in the future, like that townhouse at Cannon. You might actually need it.
Well, the element of, not attacking people that you intend to try to make peace with. Yeah, or that too. It's just, I understand why Kira shot, because the thing was about to go off. But to your point, they should have communicated first, and having Kira communicate first would have been dumb. But having Kigali communicate ahead of time as, the voice of reason from afar, and then have Kira show up as that arm, the strength behind that voice. Yeah, before anything happened, that would have been the way to go. But they didn't do that. They had Kira shoot first and literally ask questions later. Which is, the fact that they keep trying to paint Kira as this super intelligent guy who's like, here's the situation where you were at, and maybe it was dumb that we kidnapped you, and maybe you could have instigated the change while you were there, but that's not what's happening. And here's the only way we're going to solve anything here and now. And then he fucks it all up,
Oh, he launches because Kigali the one tells, "Oh, well, you're gonna launch." It's like, okay, sure, let's go with that plan, right? Because they were just sitting on their asses, and Kigali's like, "Okay, if I'm in this situation, this is what we're going to do. And Lack was like, okay, let's go with that. And the plan that Kigali came with was half-baked at best.
I mean, not for nothing,
Or
but
Kira's interpretation.
he also does all the actual action shit, right? And then Kigali is giving her speech, it's failing. And does he talk to anybody? You know, he knows people. Like, hey, he's
Atherin. Well,
yeah,
could he talk to Atherin?
Well,
I don't know.
It's literally Atherin. It's Atherin's Gundam from the original season, so he has to think Atherin's there. It's his Gundam.
Yeah.
He could talk to Atherin, and Atherin's literally like, "Kira, what are you doing?" And the very confusing part of I don't know who's talking on the radio and who's not, because again, Yuna's having a fit on his bridge, and like literally back on the Minerva, they're like, "What do we do?" And she's like, "Oh, hold on a second." Like she's listening to Yuna. I have no idea when characters are talking to themselves or broadcasting everything.
Well, it's more like, well, they're hurting each other. Let's not. When your enemies are killing each other, don't.
No.
Interfere.
This was before the attack was happening because he's like ordering them to attack, and they're like, "What do we do?" Mm-hmm. And then that's when we pan back to Minerva, and she's like, as though she can hear what's going on. Because there's like, I understand she could just be independently saying "hold," like wait for orders, but why pan us back to that while Yuna's in the middle of a diatribe? If not for the fact she can hear Yuna. Which is a dumb situation to be in. Why would you broadcast your bridge? Yeah. Unless you're doing like a Char sabotage scenario, and Tanoka is like, hit the broadcast button.
Yeah. Yeah, either way, it happened.
It's just an unsatisfying episode.
The idea was not horrible. The execution was...
I think that is our best defense, is that we have painted a number of alternative scenarios in which you still get your action payoff, that you still get everything that happened in this episode, but it doesn't ruin the setup as badly as it feels like the payoff here was.
Yeah. And Hein got ketchuped.
I feel like you could do something better. Well, I mean, he did get like... I think he could get killed from behind, right? So Heine got spanked.
He got spread.
I mean, none of these are better. None of these are good. Your first one wasn't good, so I'm not going to say none of these are better. I think they're all on the level.
Awful. It's just awful. I'm sorry, people who like Klein in the comments, go ahead and
well, how could you? You didn't get any time with him. Literally, he appeared at the concert, showed up the next episode, got killed in this one. Again, it's so crazy to me that they clearly wanted us to like him. Like, oh, he's affable, he's friendly, he just wants like a normal, friendly environment. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
This is weird. Oh, well. Any final thoughts?
No, man. This episode was a ride, I'll tell you that much.
All right. Well, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.